This is me. Hello there. So I'm in Berlin. Wah, 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 wah. I am here to follow a personal branding workshop. That was on Saturday. It's now Tuesday because I just like walking. So I walked. I did almost everything by foot. I did some things on a one of those electric steps as well. But I walked to the workshop. It was about a 30-minute walk. The workshop was by no other than Chris Doe. He is like the something like that. I think he'll be able to describe it in a better way. Anyway, it was a workshop on personal branding, and I thought that might be very useful to me. It was. It gave me a lot to think about. The workshop wasn't specifically targeted at creatives, so in the beginning they went through just basic branding stuff, which is familiar to me. And then it took a turn, like it went really dark for a second. Not for a second, for about 2 hours. They really made you look in the mirror and think about who you are, what you struggle with, what your story is. And I think this was really strong because with a corporate brand, there is some wiggle room. You can kind of construct it in a way that doesn't really 100% aligns with the true values of the company, because let's be honest, most companies, bottom line, they want to make money, and they will conjure up a nice story that helps them make money. But with a personal brand, you can't really. It's about you, and you cannot fake what you really believe in or what you stand for. Maybe you can for a year or so, but ultimately you have to find the truth about what you really believe in and want to do and what you stand for, and if you want to call it, what mission you are on. And to do so, you have to really know yourself deeply, and that's tough, man. I think some people never get there, never get to the point where they truly understand themselves, and you don't have to. I mean, it's a journey, and the journey can be part of your personal brand as well. But anyway, so he had us dig very deeply, asked a lot of very personal questions. In a way, he asked us to go to dark places and really explore the things that we struggle with, which was interesting. There were tears. Some people cried, and the atmosphere was really like supportive and warming. So the people who broke down, they were like, how do you say, they were comforted very well. All in all, it was really good. Chris really put his heart in it, and he took a lot of time. It was like 8 hours. That's really intensive. It's intensive for the audience, which was about 70 people, 60, 70. But it's intensive for him as well. And yeah, he really he shines up on the stage, so to speak. He's just really good at it, and it's very interactive. So he doesn't. It's not like he's just drowning you with this rehearsed talk. I'm sure some parts of it are rehearsed, but he's just a great storyteller, and he like I said, it was really interactive. He asks a lot of input from the audience, and then he works with that input. He listens really well. He has this deck of slides, which he says is about 200 slides, and he kind of finds his way through it as the workshop develops. He says he keeps improving it as he goes, and I believe it. I could see him searching through the slides, to figure out where to go next, or maybe to linger on some things, or dig a little deeper where needed. So I really liked that. It was really good. And then afterwards I stayed for another hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, but apparently he stays for like 3 or 4 hours after the workshop, just talking to people, answering questions, stuff like that. So hats off for that. Now, regarding my own development, I have some trouble. So the personal branding, this workshop, but I think in general, everything that we do in this regard and everything that we are told in this regard, it seems to assume we all have the same goals. And all of this stuff regarding growth, personal branding, it all assumes that we are comfortable, or even that we want to grow a very large audience online. And this workshop was no different. It was all based on the assumption that we wanted to create a personal brand that would flourish on social media. And that's where I have some sort of a problem, which is my problem, which is that in order to grow a brand, a personal brand on social media, it requires you to be very specific. It requires you to pick a topic and basically dedicate yourself to that. That's the entire thing that I don't want to do. I've made the decisions that I've made over the past few months, they are all aimed at gaining more freedom and breaking free of like the humdrum, predictable, narrow course of life. I don't believe, at least for me, I think for many people, I don't believe that true happiness lies there. I think I will be happiest if I have freedom to create and experience and grow across a range of topics, subjects, and I think this is true for many people. So, while I did learn a lot from the personal branding workshop, I'm not gonna double down on one subject. I'm not gonna do it, because then I'm just in another, so to speak, prison where I have to limit myself to one thing. This was a corporate brand. I'd say, okay, I get it. I can do that for a label, so to speak. But this is my life. This is me, and I'm just not gonna commit to one subject and dedicate my life to it. If I would do that now, it would be a lie. I would be lying to myself, and indirectly, I would be lying to the entire audience, if they existed. And another thing with specializing, like deeply, I still cannot answer the question whether I'm a specialist or a generalist. I have acquired many skills and I've gotten quite good at a lot of them, but am I a true specialist? I don't know. The thing that puts me off with truly specializing is the diminishing returns. As you get better at something, at some point, let's pick an arbitrary number, but let's say you're at 80% of that skill, which is very skilled. Then the last 20% will probably take as much time as the first 80 did. So as the better you get, the less you'll grow. This is for me personal, and I do not know what society would look like if everybody would be like, screw it, I'm not going to specialize, at least not deeply. I don't know what would happen. We need specialists. We do. I want my doctor to be a specialist. I want him to be an idiot who has dedicated his entire life to being a doctor. I do want that. But I don't want to do it myself. So there's some hypocrisy in there, but at the same time, People have different values and different definitions of happiness. So I'm sure that if I decide that this is not for me, it doesn't mean that this has to be the same for everyone. I'm pretty sure that many people will want to specialize, especially because that's where the money is. If you are the best at something, you can earn a lot of money. And if you are a jack of all trades, well, then maybe in some cases you can still earn a lot of money, but at the same time, the common knowledge tells you that you have to specialize. That's basically it. Anyways. So today, then I'm gonna find a place. To go through all of my notes, and also this worksheet, which I don't know if it's copyrighted, so I'll just flash it really quickly so you can't see it. But there's this worksheet which I still have to go through a couple of times, and then next week I'll present my brand. No, that's bullshit. I don't think I'm gonna spend 6 weeks on this, but maybe 2 or 3. Draw some conclusions, and maybe those conclusions are that I am not wired to have a big audience. At least not to have a cultivated audience. I just realize now, very much of this, like this final page, it's about create and publish at scale. And this is all about content creation. Very much of this is directed at cultivating an audience. And what I mean by that is actively doing things to build the audience. But there's a clear distinction, I believe, between 2 types of people with an online presence. And one, you have the people who cultivate an audience and they work very hard and they apply a lot of tactics and they do all the tricks in the book, and they know the algorithm and they know what works and they optimize and yada yada yada. You have those, right? And they spend an incredible amount of time and energy doing that, the tactical part, the cultivating part. They might hire people to do it for them. Of course you have like Mr. Beast. That's a business on its own. But then you have like so many people with 10 or 20 or 50k followers, and they just work really, really hard. And they optimize and they automate, and they are glued to their little rectangle like this all the fucking time. That's terrible. It sounds terrible to me. But there are also very successful people who don't do any of that. And they, in my view, are like the OG experts. They are living legends maybe even, and they are just very good at what they do. Like they are authors or whatever. They are very good at what they do. In fact, they are so good that people actively go looking for them and then subscribe to their profiles and whatever. They don't do any tactics. And yes, they probably could have an audience twice or 10 times as big as they do now if they would, but they're like, I don't need it. And I like that a lot more. So I'm not, that's the direction that I'm going to try to go. And there's a lot of chance that I'll fail doing that. Just like trying to grow organically just by doing whatever the heck it is I want to do, instead of grinding to grow. I just don't want to do it. I've been sort of grinding for 15 years. I've been working. I've sat behind a computer for 1,000,000 hours working, making stuff for myself, but especially for clients, other brands. I've been making so much stuff. I'm done with that. So instead, and someone reminded me of this the other day, I should just do what I set out to do, and that is enjoy the freedom and just create whatever I want. And whatever I want does not include little Instagram carousels that people go like, meh. So I'm gonna create the things that I want, and if that makes me interesting for people to follow, then that's fine. And if it doesn't, then that's that, you know. Then at least I've spent a lot of time doing what I want to do, instead of begging for people to follow me. But I don't feel, I don't feel negative about it. But it, you know, it's like it's tough. It's complicated. It's not tough. It's not like I'm worried about anything. But it's a puzzle, and it's a tricky puzzle. And